Hello, friends. This is Ritu Shweta Kochar, and I welcome you all on another session, a book study session. And today we are going to study Torkom Saraydarian's autobiography. It's a beautiful book, and this is one book which has actually transformed my way of thinking and has accelerated my spiritual growth. So I'm going to pick up few topics from the book which I find are very important to read. Yet I suggest to everyone to order your copy and read every day at least one chapter and see the changes happening. So we start with the topic playing in nature and the importance of connecting to nature. Father never took me to churches. He said, churches are all right, but you need fresh air and the beauty of nature. And so my father and I became accustomed to going every Sunday to the mountains, forests, or rivers. It gave me great pleasure to play in the shallow rivers and cool my feet in the pure, bubbling waters that rushed in streams down the sides of the mountains. While I played in the water, I used to collect rounded stones from the river. I had a varied collection of them ovals, flattened spheres, and cylinders of white, dark blue, and brown. One day I found a smooth stone shaped like a perfect sphere. I took it to my father, who was sitting under a tree reading a book. Daddy, I said, showing him my new treasure, how wonderful this stone is. It's perfectly round like a glass affair. How come? Taking it into his own hand, gently rolling it around on his palm, he said, once this stone was rough and angular with sharp edges. But the strong current of the water struck it from one rock to another, continuously grinding its edges until finally it became a smooth sphere. It took a long time, maybe 10 or 15 years, and this stone passed through many difficult times, through sufferings and disciplines, and at last you found it and admired it. You will be so too if you are patient enough. No man can be a rounded man unless he passes through many experiences, happy and bitter, problems, troubles, and discipline. As the current of life pushes him from one hard contact to another, he gets rounder and rounder, and at last he becomes a kind person. Smiling sweetly, my father told me this, and in his eyes there was an expression of confidence in my ability to understand what he meant. I have never forgotten this lesson, and in times of difficulty, I say to myself the following. This is another impact that will grind away another rough side of my being. I still need polishing of many uneven edges. Now I realize how much energy is condensed in such parables and how, from deep in our being, they release the energy of our inner world at the time of our need. One day, as we sat on a rock at the foot of a mountain, Daddy asked me, what are you thinking? There was an extraordinary thought in my mind. Looking at my father, I silently searched for a way to express it. He seemed to understand and said, I know you feel something great, don't you? Yes, it was so serene, so calm, without a noise, a complete stillness. Daddy, I said, I feel I am nothing. I feel I do not exist. His face became very serious. And after a while, he said, "Many generations have come and passed, but the mountain is still here. We will also pass one day, and the mountain will remain." I did not answer, but went to Daddy and held on to him tightly. I was enveloped by a great feeling in my heart, one of awe and fear. It was the first time I recognized that a human being is merely a bubble on the running water of time. For many weeks, I retained within my heart the experience of nothingness. Because of it, my feelings toward everything and everybody seemed to have diminished, even toward the members of my family and Daddy. In my mind was the image of the mountain with two human beings sitting on the rocks. In 100 years, the mountain would still be there, but but where would the two people be? From the beginning, I realized that my father was building something in me. He was building very carefully, very patiently, very far off visions. After a time when the awe and fear of nothingness had weakened somewhat, one Sunday Daddy took me to the forest. There he gave me a teaching that somehow I already knew. How I knew, I don't recall, but I knew. As we sat on the trunk of a fallen tree, Daddy asked me, "You like forests, don't you?" "Yes," I replied eagerly, "I do. I like very much listening to the music of the breeze passing through the leaves." Yes, in olden times, people believed that the rustlings of the leaves were the sounds of spirits whispering and sighing. As Daddy spoke, a beautifully colored bird flew to a nearby branch. As it sat there, I admired its colors and the beauty of the rhythmic movements of its tail. "Daddy," I said, "they see us, don't they?" "Yes, they see us." "Do they see us as we see them?" My father nodded his head. I continued, "Do they wonder about us, what we are? Do they enjoy nature?" "Yes, yes," replied Daddy. They enjoy nature. That is why they sing. They have a sense of color and a sense of music. Why do they exist? You know, when we play music in the band, each instrument is fulfilling a part, and without that part, the whole would be incomplete. So it is in nature. Everything is created to complete everything else. Consider how much you appreciate the color of a bird or its singing. Wouldn't it be a great loss if suddenly all of the birds disappeared? I could feel only a dim sense of the oneness of nature, for it was a weighty concept for a young mind, but one that would release me from the burden of some of my unanswered questions. Hesitantly, I said, "I see, Daddy." I paused then. "But why do people kill birds? Don't they suffer as human beings suffer?" "I don't think it is good to kill any life, even sheep, cattle, or even hens." "Yes, but we eat them sometimes, Daddy. Don't you think people must eat only ripe fruits and nothing else?" "Oh, if they do, all sickness will disappear and people will live much longer. And they will love each other more too. We kill animals and birds and we eat them. We cause them great suffering, and people kill each other." I remember we stopped talking for a while as we watched the sunset behind the silhouette of the trees. It would be difficult for even the most skilled artist to reproduce the splendor of the picture I saw. that is the sunset. It was so beautiful that I felt the vibration of my whole body as something in me fused and merged with the trees, the things around me. And for a long time, I sensed that I was a part of a great being, a great body, my individual existence disappearing completely in that unification. There was no thought, just a feeling of overwhelming joy. I had expanded and merged into nature. As the sun went down, slowly I came back to myself. I observed my body, looked at the trees, the mountains, the colors of the distant sky, and felt with strong certainty that I was not a separated being. I felt that nature was the body of a great soul, and everything on it and in it was only part of it, as our hands or fingers or eyes are part of us. Uh, I remember we stopped talking and we were just engrossed as a soul. I looked at my father seeking confirmation of this idea, but I saw that he was sitting motionless, deep in meditation. As the darkness increased, the light in my developing soul increased. But finally, the darkness descended, and gradually my consciousness became dimmer and dimmer. My eyes closed, and I saw before them a blue light with the golden ray extending far away. At first, my body was completely asleep, then it was going farther and farther away until it was lost. When we returned home after spending the whole day, in the evening, my mother told me that we would visit another place the next day to say prayers and make offerings. The next morning, my mother and I took the carriage for our little journey. My sisters had to remain at home, as at that time a Turk could attack and take away any Christian girl he desired. After traveling 2 hours, my mother and I reached a place called Kunar Gidor, where there were the ruins of an ancient convent. There, my mother killed two cocks and with their severed necks made the sign of the cross in blood upon one of the ruined walls, murmuring at the same time the prescribed prayers. As we left the site of the ruins, she gave the cocks to a poor couple to be used as food. In the carriage on the way home, she said, "This was a sacrifice I made to Saint Mary. She will protect us if we move to Istanbul." Research did not clarify the name and existence of this place with the exact name as that indicated by Torkom. A woman who was born in Sivas did tell us that there is a place name of a small nearby village with the church name Konagul, which means the place of the roses. These two could be the same place, and Torkam's pronunciation is a little different from that of its name now. Hope this session has given you a lot of insight. And for me, the greatest understanding is when we listen to the rustling of the leaves and the birds' sound, we feel that we are connected to the spirits, our own soul, our own self. And nature is a wonderful way to heal, to rejuvenate, and to revitalize one's own senses and organs. Thank you for being a part of the session.